हरि ओं सर्वेभ्यः। आपादमौलिपर्यन्तां गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेति न विघ्नप्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथः। लक्ष्मीं तनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षम् अङ्घ्रिद्वयं निगमशाखिशिखाप्रवालं हैरङ्गमम्बुरुहडम्बरचौर्यनिघ्रं विघ्नाद्रिभेदशतधारधुरन्धरन्नः। सर्वेषां स्वागतम्. So, after a long time, we are starting with a different topic. So, this is a new topic of Satsang, that is Tithi Visesha. But as we have started in the previous sessions, we usually start off the session with a bhajan itself. So we'll just start off with a small bhajan. So if anybody is interested, they can just raise their hand. So we will chant the small bhajan and then we will continue with the satsang session. Yes, Lalita Ganesh Bhagini.
Namaste Mahoday.
Namaste Bhagini. Atma Ramananda Ramana
Atma Ramananda Ramana. Atma Ramananda Ramana.
अच्युत केशव हरि नारायण
Achyuta Keshava Hari Narayana. Achyuta Keshava Hari Narayana.
आत्मा रामानंद रमण अच्युत केशव हरि नारायण
Atma Ramananda Ramana. Achyuta Keshava Hari Narayana. Atma Ramananda Ramana. Achyuta Keshava Hari Narayana.
भव भय हरणा वंदित चरणा
भव भय हरणा वंदित चरणा. भव भय हरणा वंदित चरणा.
रघुकुल भूषण राजीव लोचन
रघुकुल भूषण राजीव लोचन. रघुकुल भूषण राजीव लोचन.
भव भय हरणा वंदित चरणा रघुकुल भूषण राजीव लोचन
भव भय हरणा वंदित चरणा. रघुकुल भूषण राजीव लोचन. भव भय हरणा वंदित चरणा. रघुकुल भूषण राजीव लोचन.
आदि नारायण अनंत शयना
आदि नारायण अनंत शयना. आदि नारायण अनंत शयना.
सच्चिदानंद श्री सत्यनारायण
सच्चिदानंद श्री सत्यनारायण. सच्चिदानंद श्री सत्यनारायण.
आदि नारायण अनंत शयना सच्चिदानंद श्री सत्यनारायण
आदि नारायण अनंत शयना. सच्चिदानंद श्री सत्यनारायण.
आत्मा रामानंद रमण अच्युत केशव हरि नारायण
आत्मा रामानन्दरमण अच्युत केशव हरिनारायण.
Uttamam, Bhagini. Astu. I'll
धन्यवादः.
just sing the bhajan once so that we get the format. आत्मा रामानन्दरमण अच्युत केशव हरिनारायण. आत्मा रामानन्दरमण अच्युत केशव हरिनारायण. भवभयहरणा वन्दितचरणा रघुकुलभूषण राजीवलोचन. भवभयहरणा वन्दितचरणा रघुकुलभूषण राजीवलोचन. आदिनारायणानन्तशयना सच्चिदानन्द श्री सत्यनारायण. आदिनारायणानन्तशयना सच्चिदानन्द श्री सत्यनारायण. आत्मा रामानन्दरमण अच्युत केशव हरिनारायण. आत्मा रामानन्दरमण आत्मा रामानन्दरमण. We'll begin with today's satsang topic. Yes, the satsang dhyanam. If anybody interested to chant this, they can. Otherwise, we'll move on quickly from this. Astu. जाड्यं धियो हरति सिञ्चति वाचि सत्यं. मानोन्नतिं दिशति पापमपाकरोति. चेतः प्रसादयति दिक्षु तनोति कीर्तिं. सत्सङ्गतिः कथय किं न करोति पुंसां. सत्सङ्गतिः कथय किं न करोति पुंसां. सर्वेषां स्वागतं. So today's topic is Tithi Visesha. So Tithi, I think everybody knows. With respect to our calendars, we have a certain Tithi that has been designated for that particular day in terms of our calendar, which Masa, which Ayana, which Samvatsara, etc., etc. The Vishesha of that is just to understand how it starts. First, we start with the Samvat Sandesha. Samvat Sandesha is basically the era in which it has started. For example, we have Shalivahana Shaka based on the Shatavahana clan, the dynasty that ruled north and the central and south India. In that, Shalivahana was a king in the Shaka tribe. So Shatavahana, so in that, Shalivahana Shaka is the start of an era. Therefore, he wanted to make that one particular start, new beginning. Like how in the Western ideology, they say after and before Christ. After Christ, a new era starts. No, like that. So in the modern Gregorian calendar, that is the one that we use, 78 CE or 78 AD, as they say, is when the Shaka era begins. Shaka era is Shalivahana Shaka. Okay. So the era begins then. Then in the northern part of India, the most popular era is Vikram Samvat. So Vikram Samvat also, after Vikramaditya Raja, it is around 57 CE, his first year starts. So we are looking at if this year is 2024 in terms of Gregorian calendar, in Shalivahana Shaka, it is 2024 minus 78. So in the Shaka calendar, it is 1946. That is how we actually have our own eras. Like that, we have the Kali Yuga. Kali is when the era, we have the 4 Chatur Yugas. In that, the first is Satya Yuga, second one is Treta Yuga, third is Dwapara Yuga, and the fourth is Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga began in 3101 BCE. That is, we are going back 3000 years before Christ, which means it has been a total of 5125 years of Kali Yuga has completed now. So at least so many years has been completed after Dwapara Yuga, which means Mahabharata is at least so much old. This is as per our calendar, at least so much. Then we have different new eras that were started in different parts of India. Kollam, this is mostly in the Tamil culture, and then Bengali culture. There is one more beginning of era. So these are different eras based on the Samvat Sandesha. In this, when we begin the Indian calendar, the first primary thing that we need to understand is each year is called a Samvatsara. We have 4 yugas. If the 4 yugas are completed, then there is one Manvantara. One Manvantara is considered as 1 day of Brahma. So every day Brahma changes. That is, he dies at the end of the day. It is like a dragonfly. He is born from the Nabhi of Vishnu, Padmanabha, and he creates all the world, and his day begins. By the end of the day, there is pralaya, everything ends, and then the world collapses, and then the Nabhi from which the Padma has come, it closes and it withdraws. So that is the end of Brahma also. A new Brahma comes about in the next day. Like this. There is a popular anecdote also. What happens is Brahma, he comes in Bhagavatam, you'll find it. He comes to meet Krishna. And he's a little, he has a little bit of ego. And he says, I'm Brahma. He introduces himself to Krishna as Brahma. I am Brahma. You're meeting Brahma, the great Brahma, creator. So Krishna is like, which Brahma? Because Krishna is the creator of all worlds. You are a creator of this world. So there are so many Brahmas. So there are so many worlds. So Narada Muni says that you are not the only Brahma. You cannot just say, I am Brahma. He knows thousands, lakhs of Brahmas. You have to introduce himself. So that eliminates the ego. So like that, we have completed the Manvantaras and then Brahma. When we come down to the calendar part of it, we as Hindus, we prepare calendar based on two particular elements: the position of the moon and the position of the sun. Therefore, we have two particular calendars called as Chandramana and then Sauramana. In that, both follow 1 year periods. So each year is called as Samvatsara. So that Samvatsara, there are 60 Samvatsaras. This Samvatsara is Shri Krodhi Nama Samvatsara, this 38th one. So this is the reason why we do something called as a Shashti Purti. When a person completes 60 years, on the 61st year, he is back on the Samvatsara in which he was actually born. So if he was born in, let us say, Krodhi Nama Samvatsara, after 60 years, he is back to that particular Samvatsara where he was born. So that is why we call it a Shashti Purti. 60 years of complete means one whole Samvatsara chart, one cycle has been completed. So there are 60 Samvatsara like this. And in the calendars that we prepare, Chandramana is a little popular because of the festivals associated with it, because most of the people associate festivals with Chandramana calendar. So therefore we take that. In Chandramana calendar, we have 12 masas, and each of the masas is named after the position of the moon in a particular nakshatra. There are 27 nakshatras. That also we will see later on. There are 27 nakshatras. On the day of Purnami, that means full moon, wherever moon is wherever moon is positioned in whichever nakshatra, that particular nakshatra is taken as the name of that particular month. In Chaitra month, the Purnami, Chaitra Purnami, moon is posited in Chitra Nakshatra. Therefore, it gets the name Chaitra. In the same way, when moon comes to Vishaka Nakshatra on Purnami, then Vaishaka Masa. Then when Jyeshta Nakshatra it comes to moon, then it is Jyeshta Masa. Then Ashada, there are two nakshatras, Purva Ashada and Uttara Ashada. Wherever the moon is deposited or posited on the Purnami day, that particular month will be called as Ashada Masa. Like that, we have when it comes to Shravana Nakshatra, Shravana Masa, Bhadrapada Nakshatra. Also, there are two Uttara and Purva Bhadrapada. Then that is Bhadrapada Masa. When it comes to Ashwini Nakshatra, Ashwayuja Masa. Then Kritika Nakshatra, Kartika Masa. Mrigashira Nakshatra, Margashira Masa. Pushya Nakshatra, Pausha Masa. Magha Nakshatra, Magha Masa. And then Phalguni Nakshatra, Phalguna Masa. So like this, the month in terms of lunar calendar, Chandramana calendar, is named after the nakshatra in which moon is posited on the day of full moon day, on the day of Purnami. And then in the same way, sun also, the masas of Sauramana calendar is also based on constellations. So what happens is, we are talking about single nakshatras in the moon when we talk about moon. But when we talk about sun, we are talking about constellations. Some of a bunch of stars come together to form one group, that they form certain akaras based on that. Symbolically, we represent 12 different, there are 12 constellations, and therefore based on that we represent it through 12 rashis. So the solar calendar is usually, the months are named after the rashis. We have seen Makara Sankranti is when the sun moves into Makara Rashi. So that is the reason it is called as in the month of Makara. In the same way, when sun moves into Mesha Rashi, the month is called as Mesha, Vrishabha, Vrishabha, and then Mithuna, Mithuna, like that. And there is a Malayalam version also, a little bit of the difference. Mesha is called as Medham, and then Vrishabha is called as Ekadam, Mithuna, Maidhunam, Karkataka, Kartika. There are different Simha Rashi, Kanya Rashi, Tula Rashi. Based on the Rashis, 12 months have been named in Sauramana calendar. Now, when we come into the topic at hand, that is the Tithi, it is a little more centralized version of it. Like when we do Sankalpa in any kind of Kriyas, we need to have 5 important parts in that particular Sankalpa when we are denoting the time. What are they? This we learn it through this particular shloka. Tithescha shriyamapnoti varat ayushyavardhanam nakshatrat harate papam yogat roganivaranam karanat karya panchanga dashame phalam. So Panchanga Dasha, Panchangam has it gives you the Uttama Phala. When we know these 5 elements, what are the five elements? The Tithi, 1, Vara, then Nakshatra, then Yoga, then Karana. So these 5 elements are usually used in Sankalpas. And there is a reason why there is a huge dependency of these 5 things in Ayurveda, because when we are harvesting certain herbs, we need to know these particular things. The simple example would be, based on the proximity of the moon, our emotional cycles run. When we are heavily hydrated or dehydrated, moon is near, it has an influence. So in the same way, geocentric approach of Jyotishya tells that grahas, all the different grahas around us also influences. That means when Mars is very close by, there is a lot of energy, activity. When there is a moon that is getting very close to Earth, there is a lot of emotional outage. Then in the different ways, when Saturn is very close by, then when there is direct drishti of Saturn, then what happens? There's a lot of delay. Like this, there are different things associated when it comes to the grahas. That is the reason this is called as a geocentric approach. So when we are talking about these tithis, we have, this is purely mathematical. We have a way of dividing, not just in terms of yugas, and then in terms of samvatsaras, and then ayanas. The whole samvatsara is divided into two parts, Dakshinayana and Uttarayana, and then further it gets divided into six rutus. Six rutus. After that, we have masas. So when we come to Tithi in particular, these five things are important. The first one is Tithi. So Tithi is the 30 days, everyday cycle of that particular lunar calendar. In that, we have two different phases of the moon. Based on where the moon is located, the earth can see only a section of it or a complete part of it, and it gradually grows, gradually decreases. There are two phases of moon called as the waning phase and the waxing phase. Waxing phase means slowly it increases and it becomes full moon, and then waning phase means from full moon slowly it decreases and becomes no moon. So what happens is, from the waning phase, we are looking at Krishna Paksha. From the waxing phase, we are looking at Shukla Paksha. There are 14 days it takes for the moon to complete one particular. From a no moon to new moon, it takes 14 days. From new moon to no moon, again, it is this thing, 14 days. So there are 14 thithis. When we count it in terms of Sanskritam, it is Pratipada, Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Shashti, Saptami, Ashtami, Navami, Dashami, Ekadashi, Dwadashi, Trayodashi, Chaturdashi. After so many 14 days of Krishna Paksha, then we reach Amavasya. That is the 15th day. After Amavasya, then once again Pratipada occurs, where the moon starts to gain little bit more. So we start with Shukla Paksha again, and Shukla Paksha ends on Purnima. So which means that 30 days has 16 specialities, 14 days repeat in terms of names. Then we have Amavasya and Purnima. So this is basically from the position of the moon with respect to Earth. So every time there is a 12-degree movement from the Earth, and this sun is going to be stationary, moon is circling around the Earth. So when it moves around 12 degrees, there is a change in Tithi. This becomes very important for us from the perspective of the Gregorian calendar, where they strictly take 1 second to be and they have standardized forms. 24 hours is 1 day. For us, that Tithi varies a little bit because the moon takes an elliptical orbit. It is not moving at a stationary orbit. So based on the movement, only when there is 12-degree movement, only we consider one Tithi change. So that is the reason what happens. Sometimes it can take longer based on how far it is from the earth. Sometimes it may take shorter. So sometimes what happens, like what happened with respect to this Dwadashi, where the Ekadashi ended somewhere around 2 p.m. itself, and Dwadashi started on the very same day, and the Dwadashi, which was supposed to be a Tulsi Puja on that day, it ends the very next day at 10 a.m. itself. Like this, it happens. So to clear the confusions, when there are two tithis involved in a particular day, usually calendars, they take the tithi acharane for that particular day based on what tithi exists in the sunrise time. So now at the time of sunrise, if it is Dwadashi, so the whole day I am going to, my acharane is going to be that of Dwadashi, like that. So that is how they consider it. So these are the 30 tithis. Next we have, this is nothing but Vara. Vara also called as Vasara. When we do Vasara Yuktayam, we say. So there are 7 Vara: Ravi Vasara, Soma Vasara, Mangala Vasara, Buddha Vasara, Guru Vasara, Shukra Vasara, and Shani Vasara. In this, there is no change. This is strictly with respect to sunrise and sunset. It is not with respect to, this is not considered as a day. It is considered as one particular period of sunrise and sunset. So this has a specific timings. Then there are 27 nakshatras, as I said: Ashwini, Revati, Uttarabhadra, Purvabhadrapada, Shatavisha, Dhanishta, Shravana, Uttarashada, Purvashada, Moola, Jyeshta, Anuradha, Vishakha, Swati, Chitra, Hasta, Uttara Phalguna, Purva Phalguna, Magha, Ashlesha, Pushya, Punarvasu, Ardra, Mragashira, Rohini, Kritika, and Bharani. 27. I actually said it in the opposite way, probably. It starts with Ashwini and it goes with and ends with Revati. So these 27 nakshatras, wherever the moon is posited on that particular day, that nakshatra will rule that particular day. So this is the reason this is also added. Why? Because each of this nakshatra, if you can see, they fall into a certain part of that constellation I was talking about. So they have certain energies associated with them. And then there are different planets that is influencing them. Like for example, if I take the nakshatra of Anuradha. Anuradha comes under the um, lordship of Saturn. So there is delay. So like this, different nakshatras which fall into lordship of different grahas, they are influenced by these particular grahas. So therefore, which nakshatra are we starting a certain karya is also important. And there are certain, like for example, Ashwini nakshatra can be used for certain medicinal properties, to create certain medicinal properties. There is some energy change when the herbs are taken and then they are grinded or etc is done. Especially in the moonlight, especially when the moon is deposited in that particular nakshatra, it leads to a certain chemical change. Therefore, Jyotishya believes and depends a lot on this particular Panchanga. So the second important part of the Tithi Vishesha, third is the Nakshatra. First is Tithi, Vasara, and then Nakshatra. Next we have Yoga. Now, Yoga is the relative position of the sun and the moon from Earth. There we were looking at the when we are looking at the tithi change, we were looking at the degree changes of the moon from the perspective of the earth. Now earth is looking at both the moon and the sun. So based on that, there are 27 yogas. Again, these yogas are also based on something that is important. What is it good for, like that? Like for example, Vishkumbha is not exactly great for wealth, but it can be used for starting something healthy. In the same way, Preeti, Ayushman, very good for everything. Shubha, generally Shubha. Siddhi, excellent for starting yogic practices. And then like that, different yogas have different significations. That means it is easier for me to harness a particular energy. Think of it this way: if I eat something in the morning, it affects my way of working. Let us say I have, without eating anything, I take one spoon of honey, sugar rush, because my mind has not gotten any kind of, my brain hasn't gotten any kind of sugar for about 8 hours, that is when I'm asleep. On an empty stomach, when I take that particular spoon of honey, the sugar content in it actually gives that sugar rush, and my brain wakes up immediately. So this way I'm able to work. And consequently, if we can associate this with weather also, let us say the weather suddenly changed, it did a few days ago. Obviously, what happens when it becomes cold, we become very reluctant to move about so much. In the same way, these particular relative position of the moon and the sun with respect to earth, that also affects, because moon, doesn't have its own light. It draws light from sun. So how much is moon getting, and through moon how much is earth getting, the jalarashis in the earth. So based on that, this is very important. It has an influence. So like this, there are again 27 different yogas with its specialities. Then karana, the day is divided into two parts. So in that we have these 11 karanas. So Bhava, Balava, Kaulava, Taitila, Gara, Vanij, Vishti or Bhadra, Shakuni, Chatushpada, Naga, and then Kintumna. So these 11 karanas are division of the day, and this is specifically with respect to the movement of moon. Like for example, one day the dusk comes a little early. So how close is the moon coming to earth? How far is it going? Based on those movements, karana is changing. So the day is divided. So the first karana is with respect to how far it is going away, etc., and then how close it is moving, or like that. The movement of this thing can be shown in this video actually. 1 minute. The movement of the earth and how the calendar changes is usually, this has been very beautifully explained in this video. See, the moon and the sun are over here. As they move relative, this is the earth. Here the massas, which massa is where, the degree wise we are going. So as it increases, there is Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha, there is Sauramana, Chandramana changes. And see, when it reaches this point, where the moon, this is eclipse, where the earth has come in between the sun and the moon. So this is the eclipse. Then when we go, when, see, the Sauramana Yugadi, it starts from this point. We started from Sauramana Yugadi, so it is completing. It is completing 360 degrees, and it goes on. So the relative movement of moon and relative movement of sun with respect to earth has different energies that brings out. Technically, 60 years of the complete samvatsaras can recreate that particular time in which we were born. That is the reason that Shashtipur, the 60 years, has been formed. That is the reason it is very important for us to remember in which samvatsara I was born, because that will repeat only after 60 years, and it is special. because at that point of time, the exact situation is going to be recreated where I was born. So this is a video on respect to how it changes. If we can see the masa over here, Chandramana, we can see the masa, which masa is coming, the chitra is coming. As the moon starts moving, then what happens when it moves? Because we are taking 12, no? So 30 degrees, if it moves, one circle is 360 degrees, 12 masas divided by 12 means 30 degrees we will get. So when the moon moves around 30 degrees, then the masa changes, Chaitra to Vaishaka, like that. And it has sorry, when the sun moves 30 degrees, then we have Chaitra to Vaishaka. And all these things are very much scientific. It is not something that we made it on our own. Like the Gregorian calendar, we didn't add any days because we wanted to have a month named after some king or anything like that. This is purely based on the scientific understanding of geocentric energies. So these are the Tithi Visheshas. So when we understand these things, when we do our chantings every day, or when we make that sankalpa every day, with whatever we are doing, even if it is a small puja, when we do that sankalpa, what happens? We will get in touch with these kind of calendars, and we will understand the importance of them. So that is the topic, that is Tithi Vishesha. There are 5 Visheshas, the part that we usually use for uttering the Tithis. That is the 5 things that we have to say when we are doing our Sankalpa is: one is the Tithi, second is the Vara, then it is the Nakshatra, and then we have the Yoga, and then we have the Karana. And that is the reason the shloka very specifically says, see, Tithescha Shriyam apnoti. Shriyam apnoti means you earn. Shreyas is prosperity. So the knowledge of Tithi actually bestows wealth. And Varat, from the knowledge of Vara, which Vasara, it is Ayushya Vardhanam. Ayu increases. And Nakshatrat Harate Papam, it erases the sins. The sins can mean different things. Let us not consider only the spiritual aspect of it. Nakshatrat Harate Papam, Yogat Roga Nivaranam. Yoga, because it is the relative distance of sun and moon, it can actually help us with respect to the kind of medicines we are taking, creation and all that. So Yogat Roga Nivaranam, Karanat Karya Siddhyascha, because it is the respective position of moon with respect to earth. Karanat Karya Siddhyascha, because we are heavily, like for example, just an example, in Ayurveda, what they say is, when the sun is up, that is in the morning time, daytime, we should eat as much as rasya foods. Rasya food means rasya snigdha hrada. We have learned it in Bhagavad Gita, right? Those foods with a lot of rasa. Reason being, because the sunlight is there, and the sun is ahead. What happens is we are able to digest so much of water content. Also, if we don't take so much, we will feel dehydrated. So better take as much as those foods which has rasa content in them. But when we are sleeping, it is better to avoid those foods with rasa content. Reason is being, when there is no sun, digestion is solely dependent on our body. When the digestion is solely dependent on our body, then body's energy has to be focused only on digesting the food. If there is too much of water content, then digestion takes a longer time, because the acid in our stomach, it gets diluted. So when it gets diluted, then indigestion occurs. When indigestion occurs, it mostly has a problem with the kind of food, and it has an impact on the work, on the sleep cycle, on etc., our dinacharis also. Therefore, every little thing has a importance, and knowing this panchanga, then it gives us the phalam uttamam also is there. Dashami phalam, it gives us phalam also is, I think, the variation of the shloka is that karanat karya siddhyascha panchanga phalamuttamam. Also, it says it gives the best phala of the panchanga. So knowing panchanga is very important. That is the reason this topic has been taken. So, yes, if anybody has any questions, we will take that. Astu. Anybody? Yes, Bhagini.
Mahodaya, can you please read that sloka again? You said Didishcha, that small song.
Tithescha, I will just think it. Tithescha Shriyamapnoti Varat Ayushyavardhanam Nakshatrat Harate Papam Yogat Roga Nivaranam Karanat Karya Siddhyascha or Karanat Karya Siddhishcha Panchangam Dashame Phalam.
So it's in Sanskritam. So if you
Yes,
please
yes.
give in English, it will be easy to.
So Tithescha, from Tithe, the cha Tithehe, the cha means and, so we will leave that. From Tithi, knowing the Tithi, knowledge of Tithi gives us Shreyas.
Yes, Mahodaya, but
Shri means prosperity.
you give the English version of this sloka, Mahodaya. Can you?
You mean transliteration, is it?
Yeah, in English. So this
One
mentioned down, Bhagni.
okay, Bhagini.
Let us see. Because transliteration, no?
Otherwise, I will write it down, Mahodaya. It's okay.
Okay, Bhagini.
Yes, Mahodaya, I will write it down. Thank you,
I
Mahodaya.
usually have those, put it in this thing. Unfortunately, today I didn't.
It's okay, Mahodaya. Sanskritam is good to chant. Anyway, it's thank you, Mahodaya. It's very, very special today. Yeah, thank you.
Very informative, Mahodaya.
Yes, Mahodaya.
Sloka shall we chant? Should we chant every day, Mahodaya? Shall we chant?
Yeah, we used to chant. We used to chant in, this is from my yoga, this thing. When I was there, we used to chant this every day. When we say this, they used to start from the Yuga, Kali Yuga, then the which Shaka we are following, and then we start with Samvatsara, Ayana, Ritu, and then the Masa, then Paksha, then Nakshatra, then Yoga, Tithi, Yoga, Karana, and in the end, they name the Karana. So Shubha Yoga, Shubha Karana, Evanguna, Visheshana, Vishishtayam, Shubha Titau. This is the organization that comes in the sequence. So
that's also for use for Sangalpa, no? They use in during the Sangalpa. Yes. So next satsang can be off, could be off this. What should we do? What should we say every day? And the Sangalpa with meaning we will know then.
Okay. Sure. We have different sankalpas, however. Parameshwara Priyatam, it is there. But simple, it is Shubhe Shobhane Muhurte Adya Brahmanaha. Dvitiya Pararte, it depends on which hour you are doing. Shvetavaraha Kalpe Vaivaswata Manvantare Ashtavimshate Kaliyuge Pratamacharane Bharatavarshe Bharatakande Jambudvipe Dandakaranye Deshe Godavaryaha Dakshine Tire Shalivahana Shake Bauddhavatare Ramakshetre Asmin Vartamanena Chandramanena. See, Chandramana, which type of calendar I am following is also coming over. Chandramanena Shri Krodhi Nama Samvatsare Dakshinayine Rutu, etc., etc. It goes on. I will give you the format. We will talk about that format.
Okay, thank you, Mahodaya. In the form of PDF. Okay, Mahodaya. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes. shall we conclude the session? Acha, anybody wants to chant the bhajan?
I can Magadya, Ilavasi. Can I chant Magadya?
Sure.
Atma Rama Nandaramana Achyuta Keshava Hari Narayana Atma Rama Anandaramana Achyuta Keshava Hari Narayana Bhava Bhayaharana Mandita Charana Rakukular Bhushana Rajiva Lochana Raghukula Bhushana Rajiva Lochana Adi Narayana Ananta Sayana Adi Narayana Ananta Shayana Satchidananda Sri Satyanarayana Satchidananda Sri Satyanarayana Atma Rama Ananda Ramana Atma Rama Ananda Ramana.
Astu Bhagini. Dhanyavadaha.
Shall I chant, Mahodaya?
Sure, Bhagini.
Atma Ramanandaramana Achyuta Keshava Hari Narayana Atma Ramanandaramana Bhava Bhayaharana Vandita Charana Raghukula Bhushana Rajiva Lochana Adi Narayana Ananta Shayana Satchidananda Sri Satyanarayana Adi Narayana Ananta Shayana Satchidananda Sri Satyanarayana Atma Ramanandaramana Achyuta Keshava Hari Narayana Atma Ramanandaramana.
Dhanyavadaha, Bhagini. We will conclude the session. Swasti prajabhyah pratipalayantām nyāyena margena mahīmahīṣā Gobrahmanebhyo shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu Kāyena vācā manasendriyairva buddhyātmana vā prakrite svabhāvāt Karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai nārāyanāyeti samarpayāmi. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Dhanyavadaha sarvebhyah.
Dhanyavadah Magadya.
Dhanyavadah.
Very helpful
Dhanyavadah.
Magadya.
Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadah Magadya.
Dhanyavadam.